Hey, what's up, everybody? It is Wednesday, and we have made it to Hump Day of the week. Hope you guys had a great week so far. I'm Trey Griggs with Beta Consulting Group. We're your sales and marketing strategist looking out for you. Check us out at betaconsultinggroup.com and see how we can help you improve your sales and marketing outcomes. We'd love to talk to you about that, especially when it comes to branding, marketing, messaging, content creation. That's where our sweet spot really is. We'd love to help you out with that. It's been a great week so far. We've had some awesome guests this week. If you haven't heard the shows, you can go back and watch them on YouTube or Twitter or right here on LinkedIn, just by looking at my profile. Be sure to follow me so that every time I go live, you can see the content that we have there. But Monday, we had an awesome conversation with my good friend Tyler Robertson of Diesel Laptops. The guy's just a stud when it comes to leadership and what he's been doing over there, building their company basically from nothing, and now about 200 people and looking to grow up to 250 people, which is just absolutely phenomenal growth. Yesterday had a great conversation with two people. My first threesome had Brett Suma and David Stem from Loadsmith. And that was a great conversation about leadership and how they built that company. Just some awesome content about how they treat their employees and how they build culture and identity. A lot of great things to learn from there. Today, I'm going to bring on my good friend, Eric Weidl from Doc 411. Very excited to talk about his journey and what he's doing with shippers and carriers. We'll get to that. Tomorrow, my good friend and my health coach, Kevin Tenter, who's a business consultant. He's going to talk about uncommon freedom and just a really amazing guy down in Phoenix, Arizona. And then Friday, we're going to finish up with my good friend, Christy Knitchell of Knitchell Logistics. I mean, she is a mover and shaker in the transportation industry. So it's going to be an absolutely awesome show. So make sure you catch every episode of Standing Out this week at 10:30 a.m. Central, right here on LinkedIn Live or YouTube or Twitter. And also, in case you don't know, I've got another podcast on Fridays, and this is for the transportation industry. It's called The Word on the Street. We got episode 103 coming up this week with my good friend Kyle Littner from Breaker Logistics. We're going to be talking about what they're doing in the freight tech space, as well as what's happening with freight volumes and the whole situation with Russia and Ukraine, as well as maybe a little bit of sports and heading into to the summer, what we're going to do for vacation coming up. We're starting to think about that. So that's going to be Friday at noon Central, 1 p.m. Eastern, right here on LinkedIn Live, YouTube, or Twitter. So be sure to catch that as well. And finally, I want to give a shout out real quick to my sponsor, TAFS, out of the Kansas City, Kansas area. TAFS they're the good guys in the freight factoring space. They're all about educating drivers to make sure that they have all the information to make the best decisions, and they want to provide all the networks and the opportunities to help grow their business. So go check them out at tafs.com and see how they can help you guys out today. All right. With all that being said, I want to take the time to bring on my guests and have a great conversation. This guy's just done a lot of really cool things in freight. I got to meet him recently at the Mid-America Trucking Show in Louisville, Kentucky. So everybody give a warm welcome to my good friend, Eric Weidl. Eric, there you are. What's up, buddy? How are you, man?
Great to see you again. I'm doing great today. Thanks. Thank you.
I know. Yep. It's been a short time coming. We got to meet at the Mid-America Truck Show in Louisville just about a little over a month ago, I think. What was that? Well, right at a month ago, right? About 4 weeks ago. Yeah. And I met you at a pretty cool establishment there in Louisville at Hammerheads, I believe. Is that the correct name?
Yeah, Hammerheads, a little basement restaurant. We first started going there the first time we went to Matt's. We like to try to have a little bit of fun when we go. Have to travel away from home, eat well, or find some great little spots, local spots, and Hammerheads definitely fits that bill.
Dude, no doubt about it. If you like greasy food, everybody, and you're in Louisville, check out Hammerheads. Very good place. It is in the basement. It's got a cool, a low ceiling. I don't know. It's kind of fun to be in a place like that. You almost feel like you're in a little dungeon kind of cellar. It's just different experience, but really cool vibe, neat people, and the food was, it was amazing. So thank you for the dinner that night. Appreciate that.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, every time when we go there, people are usually like, are we in the right place? And the people are great, and the food is wonderful, and it's unique. So, and a memorable experience.
Cool part of town. What's the name of that area in Louisville?
That's Germantown, I believe.
Germantown, that's right. Yeah. No, it was great. I enjoyed that. But more importantly, I got to really hear about what you do at Doc 411. So take a moment and just intro yourself to everybody who may not know you, and a little bit about what you guys do at Doc 411.
Yeah, so my name is Eric Weidl. We're based here at Doc 411 in the Chicago, Illinois area, St. Charles, Illinois specifically. And what we are doing with Doc 411 is trying to solve one of the common problems in transportation, trucking, and logistics that virtually everybody in the industry is aware of, but they just deal with it. It's the inertia. It's very good in this industry at just getting things done. But the problem is actually knowing exactly where to send a truck and then what amenities or requirements they have at a warehouse. So if you're sending a truck to, say, a Walmart DC, for example, or a small mom and pop shop, what we see very common is to be given a street address, and that geocodes to some lat long, which is usually a front office, and where that truck needs to go is quite frequently a different place, the yard entrance, the driveway, if you will, or at the actual security gate. And so that delta, that difference between where that street address on a bill of lading might geocode to and the actual yard entrance ends up costing, by a lot of estimates, about 15 minutes per driver per day on average. And then you multiply it out, of course, the numbers get huge. But short story, we're building a directory of information about warehouses across North America.
And where are those directories going to be found? Is it an app? Is it an online portal? Where is that going to be housed?
Yeah. So we have apps on iOS and Android. We have a web based version, and we have more importantly, or importantly, certainly, is an API. So our other technology partners are actually integrating our data into the apps that the drivers are already using, and that's one of the ways that we're leveraging and getting out to a larger audience. Our goal is not, strictly speaking, to get our app in 3 million, 3.5 million truck drivers' hands, but to get our data into their hands.
Yeah, I love that play. One of the things that solving problems like these in the transportation space is really critical. But one of the issues that we run into is this fragmentation of technology. So I love the fact that you're really looking to integrate to get that data into the right hands. Maybe not necessarily to build your app up necessarily, or your traffic, but to get the data out there that's really valuable to help drivers know what they can expect, what they're about to run into, and some of those types of things. Making sure that information is accurate. That's really, really critical. Talk a little bit about the journey to starting this, the journey into entrepreneurship. What did you do before this that led you to say, hey, I think we should start this? This will be a good problem to solve.
Well, I've been in software development, entrepreneurship my entire career. I was part of the team that put in the first web server at the University of Chicago over 30 years ago. That was just a fantastic opportunity.
How big was that server? What was the size of that thing 30 years ago?
It was big. It was, probably half size of a desk, and just ridiculously underpowered by today's standards. We were serving maybe a couple dozen users at the time and had to monitor it constantly just to make sure, spinning media and all those kinds of things.
Emails are breaking the system.
Emails and just hardwired everything, building your own routers because those things didn't really exist. So it was a great experience, a great opportunity, and a lot of great people. Some of the people I worked with were some of the key people in developing the internet as we know it today. So that was it was just really cool. And so I saw that and thought that there might be an opportunity to use those kind of technologies in business, because literally at that time it was pretty much an academic only resources. Anybody who's probably familiar with the evolution of the internet and how it evolved. So it was right around that time I left and started a software development company, specifically to try to bring those technologies to a broader audience. And I see everything also as a database problem. My background is even before that internet experience was as a database programmer. That's what I was part of that team. So over the last 29 years, while starting my own business, I've been really fortunate and have people come in and they've had ideas about things that they see in their own business or new businesses that they've wanted to start, and develop those, build those out. Not only just the technology, but the whole business, the sales, the marketing, the branding, the implementation, the DevOps, everything. And that's one of the things I've enjoyed about my career is being able really to take a seed of an idea and at least get it to the initial stages and help with all those issues. And as probably, you're aware, a lot of times a small business person, somebody with just an idea, they're not thinking about all those different things that have to happen for that business to succeed. So got to participate in that. But 5 years ago, my co-founder came in, and he was a warehouse manager here in the Chicago area for a regional company. And he saw these problems day in, day out. And it was one of those times where he was new to the business. And, any of us, as we've been in our roles for maybe a few years or several years or dozens of years, we get kind of just used to the way things are and accept it. And he was, new at the position and thought, this is crazy. Having trucks come into his facilities and completely unaware of what to expect or where exactly the dock doors were or what their requirements were, and just the inefficiencies of getting those trucks in and out quickly, and even in their reception at the front desk, having something that upper management wasn't really looking at, but he saw it, observed it on a regular basis, that receptionist was answering the phone 3-4 hours a day, answering the same questions from inbound drivers about what was going on. So it was that when Dan came in and told me about this problem, I, like a lot of people, I thought, this is crazy. There's no way, trucking and transportation, huge industry. How could they have this kind of basic inefficiency? And sure enough, did some market research, sent some emails out to about 20,000 truck drivers, and got an overwhelming response that it was indeed a problem, and on a day-to-day basis for the majority of drivers. And I've only learned more about what kind of impact that makes on them. So started Dock 411 as a separate business, and I've been running that since then.
I love that. I love that. And for those that maybe don't live in the supply chain space on a daily basis, we're all coming to terms with the inefficiencies of the supply chain right now, and kind of where it's breaking down and some of those kind of things. And this is just one of those, because drivers, we talk about driver shortage, but it's really driver retention, and their experience picking up and delivering is a big part of that. I mean, if it's a huge hassle and they're not treated well, their time is wasted, then a lot of times drivers are like, I don't want to put up with this. And so solving this issue is just one of the many pieces that are going to go into driver retention and a better experience for drivers out on the road. And I love the fact that you guys are taking that on, which is really cool.
Yeah, there's so many aspects to this. I mean, there's certainly value. As we talk about what we do, everybody, the first reaction is, oh, that's great for drivers. But, to your point, there's value to just the management of larger carriers that are employing drivers. Because we hear it literally every week, where a broker or carrier, a large carrier, for it's a bit of an industry jargon, it can mean anyone from an individual driver to one of these large companies like a JB Hunt or Schneider, or the ones at companies where you see the trucks on the highways all the time. But where they've lost a driver because they've asked a driver to go to a particular facility, and it was a frustrating experience. And the way the industry is right now, those drivers usually have other opportunities. So I won't say they think nothing of leaving and going to another company, but it happens on a regular basis, where drivers will, because they're being asked to do things that it's uncomfortable, it's not fun, it's not productive. They will take an opportunity if they're present. And the driver retention, I heard a talk from a senior executive at one of these large carriers, spending tens of millions of dollars a year on driver retention and recruiting. So
yeah,
that's just for one carrier. It is a big problem, and that's one other aspect. I mean, that's not the direct that we can connect, but by providing and telling drivers what to expect when they're going to a facility, we think that we could have at least some kind of impact on that.
No, completely. And Jeff, I agree with you. There's like a ton of attributes as to what's going on with the driver situation, but this is one of them, and we got to pick them off one at a time. And that's what you're doing there at Dock 411. James, thanks for watching the show as well. We'll definitely get you connected with Eric after the show to connect on Access TMS and what you guys are doing there. And for everyone else watching, hey, let us know where you're coming from today. Throw us a comment, like, subscribe, and be sure to follow so that you see us every time we go live. So Eric, you're an entrepreneur by nature. You're somebody who thinks about ideas. Is there anything worse for an entrepreneur than to come up with an idea and not be able to act on it, not be able to like try something out or, see it come to fruition. How many ideas have you had that you haven't been able to work on?
Yeah, I don't think there is much worse. I do have a file. I literally have a file. It's probably several dozen pages. Some of them are just a note. Some is a note with some more detailed analysis and thought on it. But yeah, it's probably up close to 50 pages of just ideas of things I see. And then you get into an industry like trucking and transportation, and it explodes. The deeper you get into it. And I think that's one of the things I realized where I was really an entrepreneur, just looking for ideas. Is the deeper you get into it, there's just it multiplies. It's almost geometric in terms of the way that you can do it. But yeah, it's one of those things you got to stay focused, and that's actually is one of my biggest challenges, is just heads down on the problem right now.
Yeah, no, I completely agree with that, because when you're a creator, when you're an innovator, when you're an ideas type of person, the more that you put ideas down on paper, the more new ideas come into your head. So it's almost it's a blessing and a curse in many ways. And so staying
Yeah,
focused can be really,
yeah.
really challenging. There's no doubt about that. Talk a little bit about, like you said, staying focused and keep your head down on Doc 411. When you think about leadership, when you think about building your team, what are the things that are most important to you when you're looking for the right people that are going to help you achieve the goal of this vision you have really coming to fruition?
Well, there's a lot of isms I can touch on. It's a small company. Obviously, each person can have probably an outsized impact. So we do have to be very careful, and we are very careful about who we bring in. One of the measures that I use is what I call the create versus consume continuum. And it's not obviously the only thing I look at, but when I'm talking with somebody and thinking about having them join, is literally tell me, how much time do you sit back or spend your in a day consuming what other people have created versus creating yourself? And these don't have to be absolutes. I mean, I'm somewhere in the middle. I don't create constantly, but I also don't consume constantly. And what I find is the people that work best in the kind of environment that we're in definitely tend towards the creative. They're looking for creative marketing strategies, creative branding, creative technical solutions, creative product ideas versus taking what is out there and just running with it or using that. And again, it's not a judgment for either one, but what I found is the people that end up contributing most to our team and moving us ahead fastest definitely lean towards the creative side of that spectrum.
Yeah, and I agree with that. And that's true not only for that, but for think about social media. On social media, you've got consumers and you've got producers. And most
Right.
producers don't actually spend a ton of time consuming because they're more producing, creating. And most consumers never get around to creating content or producing because they're just kind of consuming. And so I agree with that continuum. And certainly when you're trying to create speed and you're trying to create new products and be innovative, having those creative minds is really critical. I actually heard this recently, and I'd love to get your take on this. I heard somebody recently say that when you're looking to hire, especially as a new company, one of the best skills you should look for is the ability to write. Because if they can
Yeah.
write, it means that they can think, they can process, they can create. I don't know. Have you ever heard that, or what do you think about that?
I have heard that. And coincidentally, my kids are both in college, and my daughter is in the writing and communications program. So we actually talk about this on a regular basis. And it's absolutely true, because obviously there's a lot of communication, whether it's branding and marketing, sales materials. I see the software as a communication mechanism. So that's obviously a different kind of writing, but the ability to communicate clearly and take something that might be on a whiteboard, I'm pointing at our whiteboard here, might be on a whiteboard and convert those scribbles into something that other people can it can make an impact on them, or register, or stick with them, or communicate what we're trying to do, is essential. And myself as a developer, I find that one of my problems is I tend to write like I program. I set all the things up ahead of time, and then if this, that, and it reads like reads like a program a lot of times. And so having the ability to take that and make it engaging to other consumers, potential market, customers, is extremely important and is one of the key things that I look for and do as a writing test, if you will, for anybody who's looking to join the team. So I 100% agree with that.
Yeah, yeah, it made a lot of sense when I first heard it, and just hearing you extrapolate that as well just makes even more sense when to think about it like that. So, when you think about hiring, obviously you're looking for good writing skills, but also how do you, as a leader, how have you gone through the process of kind of identifying your strengths, identifying your weaknesses, and then do you hire around your strengths? Hire people that have the strengths in your areas of weakness? Do you hire people that are more like you? Like, how do you think about building your team that makes the most sense for you to be productive and move forward?
Yeah, I've learned about my strengths and weaknesses there, obviously, through some of the typical exercises that probably most of us have gone through, some books and so forth, and other types of exercises like that. But a large part of it's just been living and working and seeing and thinking at the end of the day or a week or a month, looking back and saying what worked and did not work, and being honest with myself about things that I thought I enjoyed doing or was good at, by looking back and saying, that's not a great use of my time. I'm not really good at that. Or like writing, where I can write, but it takes me longer than somebody who's really good at it and does that. And can be focused on that. And so, just based on the size of our company and looking back at my own experience and being realistic about what I can do well and can't do well, I then look for people who complement those skills or fill those other gaps. As a small business, of course, wear a lot of different hats and have to in a lot of cases. But the first time I have the opportunity to fill one of those roles and hand that hat off to somebody for something that can do it better than I can, I will do that.
Yeah, no, I think it makes a ton of sense, and I feel the same way about myself. Like being honest about what you're good at and what you're not, really trying to stay in your sweet spot. Because anytime you do something outside of your sweet spot or your skills or your passions, it tends to take longer. It's usually not as good, and I feel like it drains me from an energy perspective. Versus when
Yeah,
I stay in my sweet spot, I get a lot of energy out of that.
yeah, for sure. And that is one of those things where you mentioned before about just being an entrepreneur and having a lot of ideas. It's like, wow, I could really contribute here, and I've got some great ideas for that, and I'd love to explore that. But realistically, it's not the best thing for the company.
Yeah, and not the best thing for you either, right? I mean, it's like, if you're doing something that's draining your time, draining your energy, and is maybe not that good or not well done, it's probably not the best to put a lot of time in that sector. It's best to surround yourself with people that can make you a lot better in those ways. It's kind of like sports. I think of things like in sports a lot. If you got a team
Yeah,
and everybody's a shooter and nobody's rebounding, well, you're going to win
right.
some games, but you're not going to be well rounded as a team if nobody's able to rebound the ball, that kind of thing. So I like
Yeah,
to think of it in that regards of really finding complementary roles or ways that people can really work well together in their strengths and not have to spend too much time on their weaknesses and doing that, because it's just no fun. I've been in jobs before where I just had to do things that weren't in my lane. So
yeah.
definitely happens that way. So when you think about we talked a little bit about hiring and those types of things in leadership. When you have your team together, and I'm a big believer of Jim Collins's idea of like the school bus analogy or the bus analogy of getting the right people on the bus, get the wrong people off the bus, and then get people in the right seats on the bus. How do you approach leadership in terms of making sure that the people on your team are in the right seats, and that they have what they need and they're really thriving well? What are some things that you do to make sure that happens?
Well, when we bring somebody on, is actually ask them how they're, challenge them. How are you going to do this? What do you need? And part of that goes back to my create versus consume. I want to see what solutions they're coming up with, how they see the problem from their perspective, rather than me saying, this is what needs to be done and this is the way to do it. So I want their creativity and their energy and their uh, unique perspective on the problems that we're facing, and bringing their experience to bear on that. So generally, it's absolutely not micromanaging. Clearly, we have set out what needs to be done at some level, but usually it's a pretty high level, within constraints, these things, budget, for example. But otherwise, I leave it up to them. I expect that they will, be that leader that we brought on. It's very clear that they are expected to be the leader and be a problem solver, and come up with their own ways of dealing with the problems that they're solving. Large part, a lot of it, I'm looking for people to take stuff off my plate or somebody else's plate. So I want them to jump in and show that they can do that.
Yeah, I think that's so true, to give people a little bit of opportunity to create and to come up with some processes that work well in their place, as well as like just making sure they have the support, right? That they're not just being thrown into the deep end on their own without any support or anybody that can kind of help them out. It's kind of a delicate balancing act as a leader, because you want to make sure you train them really well, but you also want to give them the space to create and have autonomy and to take ownership of some of those processes, to really thrive and to just to enjoy the position that they're in, enjoy what they're doing, and so on and so forth, which is good. All right, I want to transition real quick. We're almost done. I'm telling you, 30 minutes goes by like that on these programs. Okay. It's amazing how fast it goes. But before we do, I want to give a little shout out to our mutual friend, Kyle Humphreys, who introduced us. He invited me to the dinner that you guys were putting on. What a great guy, man. Isn't that guy amazing?
What a great guy. Yeah. And he's just the places that he's popped up and the connections he's made for us and for the company and for me, and the things that he's done. He's been an incredible resource, a good friend, willing to do anything. Driving from Canada to Louisville alone shows his commitment to actually making something happen. And then I know he went on and did other things while he was here in the U.S. So I absolutely want to say thanks to Kyle for the introduction and just being a friend and a sounding board and a partner of ours as well.
Yeah, such a good dude. I met that guy. I think I met him prior to the pandemic, but really he became a good friend during the pandemic. We started having these meetups with groups of people, and he was always in them. And I was just always so impressed with his take on the industry and what he's seen, as a consultant and as somebody who's been a veteran in the industry for a long time. And again, like you said, the guy would do anything. He's always available, just a good guy. So it's really great to reconnect with him, and obviously to meet you as well while we were at Matt's. Do you guys go to a lot of trade shows? What's your strategy? Are you going to any other events coming up? Going to Freywaves? Going to anything else coming up?
Well, we do go to trade shows. We've generally tried to, some of that, obviously the trade show landscape is different anyway, but some of the ones that we had gone to in the past are either canceled or permanently, like the Great American Trucking Show, which is in the late summer in Dallas. That one's been apparently permanently canceled. So the schedule this year is kind of strange. I've got a lot of canceled or question marks. We do have a trade show planner that we look at. Our mission at the trade shows, because we're not, we don't sell a product directly to customers like that, is to raise awareness. So we'll look at them as the best return on our investment and how many people we can reach. But we do. Matt's, 50,000+ users there. People is a great way for us to get in front of people. And there's a number of other ones coming up more focused for our particular needs on the shipper, the corporate, the business side of the ecosystem. So we'll be going to a few of those, but like a lot of people, just kind of waiting to see what happens here. But definitely go to trade shows for sure.
Yeah, I think it's good to get out there for sure. But you guys, integration partners, to me, seems like that would be the real play for you guys and what you're trying to accomplish. And sometimes that can be a little challenging to do that. So anyways, we're up against time. Eric, it's been so great to have you on the program. I do hope you'll come back and visit us again, and we can continue the conversation.
Would love to, Trey. Thanks for the time.
Yeah, absolutely. And for everybody watching, be sure to come back tomorrow. My good friend, Kevin Tenter, he's a business coach. He's a health coach. He's all about talking about uncommon freedom. You're not going to miss that at 10:30 a.m. Central for Standing Out, a daily podcast about sales, marketing, leadership, powered by Beta Consulting Group. And a shout out to our sponsor, TAFS. Thanks so much for watching, everybody. Have a wonderful afternoon, and we'll see you again for another episode soon. Talk to you guys soon.